Let's see who else is here.
Excellent. Thanks, Corey. So I just look at the list of the people, and most everybody knows me. I'm Misty Beals, the district conservationist here in Baker County. I've been here just about 6.5 years. And I guess I need to tell everybody that this will be my last local work group meeting. I've taken a position up at the state office. The good news with that is that I get to stay in Baker, so I'll still be here at the office, but there'll be a new DC coming in. We don't know who that is yet, so look forward to that. It's going to be an exciting change. And then I'll introduce staff a little bit later, right, Corey? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, there's not too many of us on there, so I'm just going to go ahead and call on a few people to introduce themselves. If you're comfortable, you can either unmute and say hi, or if you want to put your introduction in the chat, that works too. But it looks like, Trent, do you want to say hi real quick, introduce yourself before we keep going?
Yeah. My name is Trent Lucian. I'm the County Executive Director for the Farm Service Agency here in Baker County, and I work with Misty, and we're in the same office here, so we do a lot of the same programs together. So it's been kind of nice to be able to come here and present today and talk about some of the programs that we have that are joint with NRCS and some of our own stuff today too.
Awesome, thank you. Looks like someone who is my new favorite person, Corey Rowe. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, Corey. Yeah, I'm Corey Rowe, and I work for the Baker County SWCDs and the Ag Tech, and I'm just happy to be on here and listen to what's going on and any other programs that are out there.
Awesome, thank
and
you.
Yes, nice to see another someone with my same name. I like it.
Well, spelled the right way. That's the thing.
That's right. That's right.
All right, Craig Ward, it looks like you're joining us today. Want to say hi?
Yeah, hi, Craig Ward. I'm here as a landowner and then also helping to gather some information for Jeff Colton at the Baker Valley Irrigation District. So he said he couldn't be here today. So.
Oh, great. Thank you so much for letting us know that.
Okay.
Curtis.
Yeah, hi, Curtis Martin, a landowner, Baker County and also Malheur County. So thanks a lot.
Awesome, thank you. Dallas.
Hi, I'm Dallas Hall DeFries. I'm the Baker Local Implementation Team Coordinator.
Awesome, great. Doug.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Doug Birdsall at Powder Valley Water Control District.
Great to have you here today. Kathy.
Hi, I'm Kathy Ward. I'm a landowner with some forest property in Baker County.
All right. I believe the rest of you all will get when we go through the presentations. So welcome everyone, glad you all could be here. I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to turn it over to Trent, who is going to give us an update on what's going on with FSA.
Okay. So let me know if you can see that.
Yep, we can see your slides. Looks good.
Okay, so I'm going to go over some of FSA's programs. I'm going to kind of hit on this one a little bit more. This is our CRP grasslands program. This one here is kind of taken off here in Baker County because it really fits here with the type of operation. So I'm going to spend a little more time on this one going through the provisions with that, because we also have a sign up that's coming up here on April 4th through May 13th. So I want to get the word out about that. So that way, if somebody's interested in it, it's a bid-in process. And so I'll go over all that with everybody today. Just got to get it to go to the next screen. Okay. All right. So to be eligible for the program, you have to be able to participate in our NRCS and FSA programs. So you have to meet payment limitation, AGI provisions, which you have to make less than $900,000 for adjusted gross income for 3 years previous to the previous year. If you are a landlord and you have a long-term lease on the property, there is a landlord tenant provision that can be enacted to participate in the program. You have to own the land for at least 12 months. There's some exceptions to that. And then under this program, under the normal CRP program, there's no haying or grazing provisions in this. You're able to graze as part of the program provisions, and that's part of the plan that we put together with NRCS to work on this. Unlike with normal CRP, there's no cropping history requirements. You can hay and graze or harvest for seed production. The one requirement that's part of that that's in your CPO is you have to rest the ground 1 out of 3 years during the primary nesting season. For Oregon, that is March 1st through July 15th. So that's coming up here pretty quick for all of our conservation ground under the CRP that's coming up here. And the other thing, unlike our other programs, there's no management required to halfway through the contract. So you don't have to go out there, spray, put in water guzzlers, that kind of stuff. There's quite a few different things we can do for mid-management, but this program doesn't require that since you're already going out there and grazing and managing the property as out in your conservation plan. So for eligible land, to be eligible, it can be either part of a tract or part of a farm, has to contain form shrubs, including approved rangeland, pasture land for which the grazing is predominant use, which can include that is located in an area historically dominated by grasslands, could provide habitat for animal and plant populations of significant ecological value, and land is retained in its current use. Is expiring CRP without tree practices. We don't have much of that traditional CRP in here in Baker, so it doesn't really pertain to Baker. Land is eligible to offer in the CRP after EQIP or CSP contract is expired. So we can't double dip on our acres, is what that's meaning there. So you can only have one or the other on that. And then and if anybody has any questions, just let me know and I can answer those we're going through here. A couple things that are ineligible is forest land or woodlands. There's some exception. It can't have over 5% tree canopy. So if it's anything, so if you have forest land, woodland, we need to, or if you had questions about it, we could always do a visual inspection to see if it meets the requirement to be eligible under this program here. So when you come in and sign up for the program, there's several different ranking factors because, like I said, this is a national ranking process. So this is a breakdown of the different points that you can get under the program. You want to get the maximum points possible to be able to bid into the program. Last year, you had to have a minimum of 70 points on the national ranking to be able to get into the program. And so this is kind of the breakdown here, and I'll go over each one of these individually in the upcoming slides. So the current use, it has to be, it can be expiring CRP. Unfortunately, we don't have much of that here in Baker anymore. Most of our stuff is in crep or the grasslands here. So this is where we're at. So you wouldn't be able to get any additional points under this one here. Here's an example. I've grabbed this from another presentation, so I'll just skip through these. I got rid of all this stuff. One way you can get some points is if you're a beginning farmer, underserved, or veteran producer. So if you are a corporation, at least 50% of the ownership is a beginning farmer or underserved, then you can get the maximum points of 10 points under this one here. So what we do is you fill out this form called the 860, and then we'll have you fill that out, verify under that, and then we put that in our software. And then when you bid in, it'll automatically pull the points for your bid offer with that there. So here's some examples of a beginning farmer. It means you haven't been farming or ranching more than 10 years. And you can also be part of a legal entity for the beginning farmer, and all members must be related by marriage. All members must be for the beginning. Let you guys read that there. So for socially disadvantaged, farmers or ranchers means farmer ranchers who are a member of a socially disadvantaged group whose members have been subject to racial, ethnic, or gender prejudice because of their identity as members of a group without regard to their individual qualities. Social disadvantaged groups include the following and no others unless approved in writing by the deputy administrator. So you can see the groups there that are identified under the socially disadvantaged. And then the veteran farmer, that one's a little bit different on that. Isn't quite what you would think on that. Not just when you're a veteran of the military. To be that, you actually have to fall under the beginning farmer also. You can't have been farming more than 10 years to have the veteran status as well. So that's kind of a different one on that. So you have to meet both those qualifications to be a veteran farmer. You also have to be farming for less than 10 years as well. Okay. Then there's also some other rankings here. So if it ends up the threat of conversion, so here in Baker County, you would get 2.5 points for the threat of conversion because of urban growth. So we get an additional 10 points for that. And then also if you wanted to do a 15-year contract, because you can do a 10 to 15, depending on how long you want to enroll, you can get an additional 5 points in this program as well. So the greater the conversion factor and the length, you get additional points for that. So the nice thing is they do give you some options to be able to bid into this program. So this is shows some areas throughout the United States where the threat of conversion is. And you can see Baker County here. We're in this light colored here, but we do get the 2.5 points. It's hard to tell with the color there on that one. Okay. So just showing that, so more information you can get on this for converting and so forth, your points. You get your national ranking. So like I said, the longer the contract, you get more points. You can get that additional 5 points. If you just do a 10-year contract, you can't get any additional points for that. And then depending on what kind of grass cover you have out there, you can go 0 to 30 points. And then it's an average weighted depending on what you have out there. And so we try to look at what the ground is before you bid in. If we have time, not always the case. If you end up bidding in and you don't have those grass species that you had bid in out there, you would have to seed it at your own expense to make it what you had bid in here. So here's a breakdown of the grass species on what you can bid in at. So if it's a permanent introduced grasses and legumes, so if it's a monoculture, 2 or more species, or if you have a minimum of 4, at least 3 are grasses and 1 forb out there. So you can see the bigger points is for your native stands, depending on what you have out there. You can see the breakdown on that. So when you bid into that, so it's good to know when you come in and sign up what you have out there. Kind of hard right now when most of the ground is covered in snow, but hopefully here in the next month, when we have the program after April, that we'll actually have some grass that'll be sticking up and starting to turn green. But we're fingers crossed on that. So
hey Trent, before you get too much further, there is a question. Is there an age limitation for a beginning farmer eligibility, such as a 2022 graduating senior?
no, there's no age requirement. It's just how long you've been in the farming practice.
Great, thank you.
Okay. So, and then depending on that, where you're at geographically, you can get additional points for that as well. And so you can see here, so with the conversion with your grasslands European National, Baker, we ended up not getting any of those here. I've been pushing, trying to get some additional points for the county here because of our sage grouse that are in the county for our threatened endangered species. And so we're still in the process with national, trying to get some additional priority zones done for Baker as well. So, and then if you are a small scale operation, that means you're under 200 acres, and then you can bid in, and that's actually in a separate pool. And then you can get 0 to 10 points when you bid into the small scale, depending on the size of your operation with that. And so this is the bid-in sheet here. This is just kind of an example for your small scale operations. They ask some questions as you go through here on the form here. And then the next thing is your payment rate. So the maximum you get for bidding in is $15 per acre here in Baker. And then you can also get additional points by reducing your maximum bid rate. So I have a table here that shows the maximum points. So if you drop your payment rate by 15%, you can get another 25 points. And so that's where it makes it huge for people to bid into the program, is to get those additional 25 points. Because last year with folks that bid in on that, the ones that didn't adjust their payment rates a little bit, they ended up not getting in. Those others that took those additional 25 points or less were able to get into the program. Because I said, like I said, most of the cutoffs with most people that are bidding in with their properties here, they're right around the 60 points. But if you bid in with that, then that's gives you a pretty good shot, because you're bidding in against everybody in the country, and that can change each time depending on how the ranking process went out. So, like last time it was 70 points, the year before it was 68. So it's been kind of creeping up a little bit each year. So it's making it harder and harder to get into the program. So the rates are based on 75% of the NAS pasture land rental rates. So when you guys get those NAS information in the mail to fill out those brochures, now they're doing it online. The more accurate you can be on that information, the better it gives us to be able to have more comparable rates for our programs. So when you're bidding in, you're able to get what the county is actually worth. So the more information you can give on that, the better it'll help with everything. So we greatly appreciate all the farmers and ranchers that fill those out and give us that information, or give NAS, I should say, and then they pass it on to us, and it helps with our programs on being able to be more accurate for you out there. So when you're saying, why do I have to do this? This is one of the things I would like to explain to folks, so it helps out with the programs and being able to be more competitive on the prices. So when people are bidding them in, and that way they can get a fairer price on their rental rates. So, and then it shows across the country, the rental rates, as you can see, kind of the higher cropland areas, how the rates are higher for this program. And then just depending on your land usage, so you can kind of see here across the country on how that's broke apart. So the sign up is going to be April 4th to May 13th. Any questions about the program that I kind of went over quickly, it feels like?
No other questions in the chat, Trent. Does anyone want to raise their hand? I will also note we do have one person on the phone, so welcome, person whose phone is ending in 6282. Feel free when we have pauses for questions, if you've got a question, even if you're on the phone, to unmute and ask. But it looks like no questions at this point with that one. Thanks.
Okay. And then, okay. So, and then I'll go over some of our disaster programs that we have available as well. Unfortunately, it seems like those are becoming more and more prevalent over the years with our activity in them. So I'll just go over those. I'll let everybody know what's out there. So our crop insurance programs, as you can see, those are through RMA, but that ties in with us on producers doing their acreage reports, because RMA will get that information from us. So there's several different crop insurance programs that you can participate in. I'll direct everybody to go onto rma.gov and look those up there, but you can see how they cover quite a bit of different areas for different disasters that are out there. And then we have our CRP grazing. Pretty much that one's only for drought. You have to be a D2. Here in Baker, we have very few traditional CRP grazing or CRP acres anymore, so that one isn't really prevalent to Baker anymore. But if you are operating in another county where there is some CRP ground, and somebody that has some CRP, if we are in D2 or higher during the grazing season, this is a program that you can potentially look at participating in. Then we have our our ELAP program. Sorry, it's kind of hard to read there. I've got to look it out in front of me. So under our ELAP program, they did some changes with that this year. They introduced what's called a hay hauling program underneath the ELAP program. So producers are able to get paid for mileage. So when we have a drought situation and you have to haul hay farther than normal, you can get paid for the mileage, not for the hay, but for the mileage to help cover those additional costs that you have to haul that hay. If say you normally get it from a band and then you had to go into up to Tri-Cities area and haul your hay in, you can get paid for the mileage to help with that additional cost you had. And if you had to haul additional protein and so forth. And then we also have a water hauling aspect of that also. So because of the drought, you ended up not having any water for your livestock when they're grazing on your non-irrigated ground, then you would be able to turn in a notice of loss with us and be able to get paid on the number of gallons you had to water your cattle during that time frame that they were out of water. So then we have our emergency conservation program, and what this one deals with is fires. We also can help replace fences on private and federal land. The federal land, we're still working on that one. We used to be able to. They've changed that a little bit, but we heard it's in the works. So if your forest allotment burns up and you need to replace the fence out there, then you'll be able to purchase, get a cost share up to 75% of getting your fence replaced out there. Then we have our emergency forestry restoration program. So if your trees burn up on private property, we can cost share to help get those trees replanted on non-industrial forest land. And then we also have some farm loans. I'm not a farm loan officer, so I'm not really going to go into that too in deep. But if you ever have any questions on that, just call our office and you'll be able to talk to Diane. She does all of our farm loan stuff here. So. And then our next, so EQIP, that's with NRCS. This is kind of just a general disaster sheet that has quite a bit of information on here. So I'm going to jump down to our LIP program here, or I'm sorry, LFP. So the LFP is for our drought. That one there is done for whenever we go into D2 for more than 8 consecutive weeks. Producers can get paid on their non-irrigated grazing ground to make up for the loss that they have because of the drought. And then we have our livestock indemnity program. And this one here, if you have livestock that die from a natural disaster, if it's from a fire, extreme cold temperatures, or so forth, is that one there. That one, one of the requirements for that though, is when you notice that your animals are dying, you have to file a notice of loss within 30 days. You don't have to give us all your information at that time, but you can call in, let the office know that you had your animals have died from a natural disaster, and that gets the process started for you. So that'll give you that information there. So that's the biggest thing, is just make sure you contact the office. And then our final program is our NAP program. This one here is starting to pick up some momentum to help cover those non-assurable crops, such as your hay and grazing ground throughout the county. So this program here, it goes off your actual production history. So you turn in your previous year's history on your hay, excuse me, and then you're able to set up what's called an APH, which is your actual production history. And then you can have different buy-up levels under that, and that way it can be broke out depending on your type of operation and how much coverage you want into. So if you have an operation that generally doesn't see over 50%, which is our lowest coverage, you can buy a buy-up coverage up to a 35% loss. It does cost more, and then that also takes in a factor where I was talking about earlier with the 860 with socially disadvantaged and beginning farmer. You can actually get reduced rates under that. So, and then we have our last program, which is our tree assistance program. So if your fruit trees or your vines for your vineyards end up dying, we can have cost share to cover all of that. And I won't worry about dairy since we don't really have dairy here in Baker anymore. So, okay, that's all I got as an update for our FSA staff.
Thanks so much, Trent. We did have one more question in the chat that Misty was able to answer, asking about CRP grasslands for grazing. And Misty was able to answer that CRP is a working lands program and grazing is allowed.
Yeah. Thanks, Misty.
Mm-hmm. All right, any other questions for Trent? That great overview of FSA programs. If you're on the phone, go ahead if you're unmuted and have a question.
Corey, this is Tom Demenu, Oregon Department of Ag. No questions. Just wanted to put you on, be on the record. Thank you.
Oh, great. Thanks for letting us know as you, Tom. Appreciate it. All right. So with that, thanks, Trent. And we're going to move on to Misty's presentation about NRCS programs.
All right, I think I have to get Trent to unshare first.
Okay.
I kicked you off.
Got it.
You kicked me out.
Yep.
Excellent.
It looks like yours is coming up.
All right,
Let's
Corey,
see.
is it showing up?
Yep, we can see it and we can hear you. Everything looks good.
Excellent. So I just want to do a little reintroduction of what the locally led process is and why we're having this meeting. But I'll start off with who we are here in Baker County. So, I'm the district conservationist for another 6 days. So as of Monday, I start my new position, but I'll be helping with some changeover and transfer. Logan Ross is our range conservationist here. He's been here 5 years, Logan, I think. Maybe 6. Chad Davis, how many?
Oh, yeah, I think 6.
6, yeah. So soil conservationist Chad Davis has been here almost 2 years. Chad's
Almost 2.
Almost 2. Grew up
Yep.
here in Baker County, so he's familiar with the area. And then we have a soil conservationist position that's vacant right now. We're hoping that was advertised 2 months ago, but it hasn't been yet, so it's still coming out. So, when I first came here, there was 2 of us, so we've been very fortunate to add 2 more positions here at the office. So to go back to that locally led principle, I think I do this little spiel every year, but what it means is that we here at this office get to determine where we're going to spend the farm bill money. And that's, we decide, but it's also local input. So it's not determined at the state office. It's not determined at a national level. We get to decide here. And so that comes through a lot of different ways. It comes from input throughout the year. This meeting is one of the ways we get input from people on where we should be moving. And so when we talk about local, it could be, it could be a countywide project if there's a resource concern that's specific to Baker County. It can be a part of the county. Most of what we do is based on a watershed level or a geographic area. For example, the Baker watershed, we've got a project going there now, and that includes several watersheds, but that started out with a lot of partners and a lot of need up around the watershed. And then, it can be other areas identified by interested stakeholders. So we have one now that's the Pocahontas irrigation project we're working on. And so that's just a group of people on, one pipeline, one ditch. So that's what local means. We determine it here. That's kind of the key point of that. Public involvement, we invite everybody we can think of. We invite our partners. Again, this isn't the only place where you can share those ideas or needs for the county. It can be like, for example, I received a letter last week stating a need in the county, and we'll take that into consideration also. So our objectives today are, to kind of identify resource concerns in the county, get some input from partners, private landowners, what we need to do, how we can help it. We always try to include partners in these projects. It just helps the projects go further. And then just to give you an idea of where we're at, and last year, for example, this is just a snapshot of what we did with our EQIP funding. So the CIC program rolled out last year. It was the first time we've ever had it anywhere. It was a new program. We funded 27 projects in Baker County, everywhere from pivots to forestry work to livestock water projects. It was one of those not so focused programs. They've came back this year, and it's definitely more focused on basically soil health. Another example, like I talked about earlier, Baker watershed forestry. Last year, we spent almost $600,000 up there on private lands and treated, just over 1,000 acres. We're working on contracting right now for 2022, and it's going really well. Another bit of funding we have that we don't have a lot of control over is the sage grouse initiative. So we're doing a lot of work in that sage grouse country. That's been a continuous amount of money every year. That really helps us out as a county because we can use that money versus just our regular allotment of money. Seasonal high tunnels have been a big thing here in Baker County. They're a lot of fun. They're small projects, but just the impacts of those are great. We have people selling produce at farmers market. We have people working with the Baker Food Co-op. So there's some real good local benefits to the high tunnel. It's kind of one of my favorite things here to do. So last year, our EQIP budget for Baker County was over $3.5 million. So, you know, it's important to get the input from everybody where that money needs to go. So just some other things besides EQIP, and you know, this meeting, we're focusing more on our EQIP dollars that are coming in and where we want to spend those. But here's some other things that we have going on in Baker County that people might not know about. We have this regional conservation partnership program for forestry. We share that with 3 other counties. It's about $5 million. I think that's a 3 or 4 year project. So that's forestry work around the county that I don't have to dip into my general EQIP funds. There's good partnership there with Oregon Department of Forestry. They're the ones that actually applied for that. The PL 566 project, so Doug's very aware of this. This is a little bit out of my hands on a local level just because of the scale and scope of it and the engineering needs for this, but that is underway. It's getting started. It's about, you know, we're talking about $25 million to do some work up around Pilcher and Wolf Creek irrigation work. Doug probably knows way more about this than I do, but it's an exciting thing going on here in the county. The seasonal high tunnel, like I talked about, that's a statewide program. We don't really direct where that's spent in our county, but it's fun. National Water Quality Initiative. So we just got our plan approved. We're going to get it approved this spring so we can start asking for money outside of EQIP for that forestry work around the watershed. There's been a lot of press lately about the Forest Service getting their work done so they can start doing a lot of work up there. So that's an exciting project going on. I mean, the watershed affects all of us, so it's a good project. Sage Grouse Initiative, like I talked about, we get about the same amount every year. We always beg for more money and steal it from other counties, which I like to do. Conservation Stewardship Program, we call it CSP. It's a big program here in the county. I want to say we have 80 some contracts. They're 5-year contracts. It takes a lot of work for us to implement those. So, you know, it's something else we offer outside of this, the regular EQIP. So just wanted to give you a snapshot of what we've got going on here, and, you know, how this sort of works. So if anyone has any questions about that, I would gladly answer them.
Any questions for Misty about current, or I guess it'd be last year's and current projects? All right, I'm not seeing any hands up or any people unmuting or anything in the chat. You did a great job explaining everything, Misty.
Yeah, great. This is
yeah.
Kurt Martin. I just want to chime in here real quick. I just want to compliment Misty and her crew. It's we have an outstanding group of folks at NRCS and Trent also that really make these programs available to landowners. So without the personnel that we've had, much of what Misty just explained would not have come into fruition because of the complexity of the applications and all of the background that needs to be done. So I don't think I share Misty's excitement about the change in the new district conservationist, but I just wanted to be on record as complimenting her and Trent, especially Misty, since she's doing her new position, of how great it's been, and hopefully it continues at that level of coordinated and helpful actions for the landowners. So thanks very much, Misty. We owe you a whole lot of gratitude and thanks.
Well, thank you, Kurt. Appreciate that.
Yeah, that's great to hear. And I will say that Oregon is very committed to, you know, continuing the work in Baker County, and whoever is going to be the district conservationist you know, the expectation is that they'll continue the programs. They, as Misty mentioned, we are pretty lucky